After a disappointing loss to the Cal Golden Bears, the Auburn Tigers return to action, looking to bounce back as they take on New Mexico in what's homecoming at Jordan-Hare Stadium. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Tigers and the Lobos. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Take us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. This segment brought to you by our friends over at GameTime. Guys, if you need tickets, download the GameTime app and use promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's the GameTime app, promo code SECU to get $20 off today. Auburn, you could argue, was one of the most disappointing teams in college football in week 2, and they look to bounce back in a big way as they welcome New Mexico to Jordan-Hare Stadium under the lights on the Plains. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game, and helping me do so is my good friend, Cole Thompson. Cole, what's going on? Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and it's Payton Thorne still starting to clock down on the Plains. What are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah, you want me to go ahead and start this off with a great video? Cool. Congratulations, Auburn. You are the only thing that's standing in your way. And I am beyond mad. I am beyond mad because I thought, even though I did believe that Cal was better than expected, and I had to eat crow because I said that Cal was going to get obliterated in this game. Just dominately, disgustingly battle. I said that. I'll own it. I'm okay with it. But I didn't say it was because Payton Thorne. I said because if you had the personnel. And that meant the personnel, including your backup quarterback that looked pretty dang good against Alabama A&M. But you know, at the end of the day, death, taxes, and Hugh Freeze just having too big of a heart for the number one guy that he can't let go of. It's the most toxic relationship in the SEC. It's the most daunting loser streak that we have seen. Ladies and gentlemen, Payton Thorne, starting quarterback in Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturdays. God. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Chris.
It's one of the most baffling relationships indeed. And I'll even say to this point, I know we're talking New Mexico, but looking back, it's funny because the Auburn people I talked to, they scoffed at the idea that Cal was a losable game. Scoffed. The joke was, are they going to cover or not? It was never.
My best bet of the week. My best bet of the week.
Yeah, we all looked foolish. Thanks a lot, Hugh Freeze and Payton Thorne. Again, guys, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff for this one against New Mexico on ESPN2, by the way. So this game, Payton Thorne will be right back in front of a national TV audience. This game again at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Cole, Auburn is a 28-point favorite in this one. The over-under set at 59.5, the first ever meeting between these two schools. The Lobos went 4-8, 2-6 a season ago. Cole, Bronco Mendenhall takes over as their head coach. He's got a hell of a track record, by the way. I think in 17 seasons as a head coach, he's gone to a bowl game in 16 of those 17. Going to be difficult probably to do so this year. They are 0-2 thus far, losses to Montana State and Arizona. They gave up 422 yards passing to, Noah Fafita, right?
Noah Fafita.
I always want to say Noah Fajita. Honestly, I'm sorry about that, but it's just it rhymes.
No, he is not doing just Mexican dish.
Noah Fajita and the boys over 600 yards of offense for Arizona in that game. For New Mexico, their quarterback Devin Dampier is a dual threat player. I believe it's Dampier, by the way. I feel like we get blasted for these name pronunciations. I apologize if I messed that up. Luke Wysong, Caleb Medford, the top targets out at wide receiver. Cole, a year ago, they were 106th in rush defense. And like I mentioned, fresh off of giving up over 600 yards of offense. So as we dive into this matchup, Cole, you just mentioned your thoughts on Payton Thorne. I went on record on Monday and said he stunk. Can New Mexico be the solution to Payton Thorne's struggles a week after throwing 4 interceptions against Cal? And maybe the better question, Cole, does it even matter? That's the question.
I'm sorry, out of curiosity, wasn't there another New Mexico team that kind of had their way at Jordan-Hare Stadium last year?
How dare you? Let's see
what Payton Thorne's numbers were that day. Oh, it was one of his better performances, actually. 15-19 for 1 touchdown. He also rushed for 38 yards. And Diego Pavia still was the one that came out on top. Don't worry, we're going to get to that game sooner rather than later. No, I mean, let's just be real. the way that we talk about Cal was probably disrespectful. It probably was, and we did not give enough credit to Fernando Mendoza, who is a very talented quarterback, and we did not give enough credit to Jaden Ott, who is one of the better running backs in the ACC when fully healthy. I think that's a fair statement, and we probably oversaturated and brought in what is real. It may not be fair at times, but it's real. The SEC bias, that probably took weight. This is a New Mexico team that needed a brand new direction after firing Danny Gonzalez, that came on in and they brought back Bronco Mendenhall, who want to get into coaching. And he realized that if I can restore a program here, watch what I can do at another major program. And he's had success in the past when he was at BYU, when he was at Virginia. He was a coach that was able to get the best version of those two teams multiple times. So I think that that's the right hire. But much like we talk about with Rome not being built in a day, a college football program, unless you're literally the only person that's coming on in, you're not losing transfers, you're not losing any recruits. All you're doing is you're having a coach be cemented into that spot. It doesn't change. Like, that's just the narrative that when it comes to it. So it doesn't mean that Payton Thorne is going to have a good game. In fact, you talk about it, the way this run defense has been and the way the passing attack has been, you probably can turn to Payton Thorne for only a second quarter. And then you can start turning to your backups, and you still have great wide receiver play, and you still have a good run game headlined by Jarquez Hunter, and you'll probably be able to walk away with the dub, and a pretty significant one too, especially at Jordan-Hare, especially at homecoming. That's not the point. That's not the point. And I'm sorry that I have to be the bearer of bad news, but I get it. I get it. Auburn did not need to go into the transfer portal. Now, Auburn fans, let me just stay with me for a minute. You did not need to go into the transfer portal to get a starting quarterback this year because you were not a quarterback away. You were never a quarterback away. You had question marks on your defensive line. You had question marks in your secondary. You definitely had question marks on your offensive line. You were breaking in new wide receivers. You did not need to spend the amount of money to go after a quarterback, or even worse, try to bring in a quarterback that better fits the system. Now, if Caden Salter became available from Liberty, that's one story because of the relationship. Anyone else, we can pump the brakes. That doesn't mean you have to stay in this relationship. That doesn't mean that after one game where things start to look right against a lesser tier opponent, you have to stick around. You've seen Payton Thorne. You know what he is at this point. And I get it. 2 games is the good sample size for you to see the good and the bad, but it's not 2 games. It's not 2 games. It's a year plus 2 games of Payton Thorne. It's a year and 2 games and in a full offseason and a spring and a fall camp. It is all of that. And you have the pieces to be a team that this year will not go to the college football playoff, but will be a team that does force a team out of that race. You are a team that can be good enough to withstand your own and show that there is potential. And by the way, let me make this also clear if you aren't paying attention at home. Recruits are watching. Recruits are watching as Hugh Freeze commits to a quarterback where there is no end in sight and there is no positive net gain. And what they're hearing is, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm not going to make any changes. A wide receiver is not going to want to play if their quarterback continuously drops their end of the bargain. And Hugh Freeze is okay with it. So you know what? If this is the game where Payton Thorne says, thank you, I appreciate it, Auburn. I'll still be here. I'll get my degree. I'll help out with the young quarterbacks. I'm fine with that role. That's great. But you have backups waiting in the wings. You have Hank Brown that had 2 touchdown passes. You have Holden Griner, who was able to play against Alabama A&M. And I know this is a long rant, but it's an important rant. You have pieces, and you have the best wide receiver core you have ever seen in the history of Auburn football, in my lifetime, and potentially in the program's history. You can't afford to watch one of them say, this coach is going to do what he thinks is right and not what's right for our team. I'm going to go elsewhere and take my chances. You can't afford that. You're trending in the right direction. If this is not the year, it's not the year. But we can all agree that Payton Thorne is not the answer. And it's not a 2-game sample size. It is a legit 1.5-year period. So make sure that by the end of the 4th quarter, you're seeing Hank Brown, because if you trot out Payton Thorne against Arkansas, you're starting off at 2-2.
I wonder how much blackmail Payton Thorne has on Hugh Freeze.
Enough.
I mean, to your point, and Cole, I agree with everything you said. At some point, people show you who they are. It's up to you to believe them. And Payton Thorne, we know. We know at this point. I mean, I'm not saying Auburn can't win some games this year. I'm not saying they can't get to a bowl game, but what'll be unfortunate is I don't think they can hit the ceiling that this team is probably capable of if they had somebody under center who was capable. Just bottom line. I mean, they're not going to be able to do that. Cole, did you hear the quote that Hugh Freeze had about the offensive game plan this week? Yes, that they are. He says, "quote I can promise." When talking about simplifying the offensive playbook, "quote I can promise you the package will not be big." End quote. Pause. Again, first off, Hugh Freeze, beautiful way to word that, by the way.
Phrasing.
Thoughts on the playbook being condensed for Payton Thorne going in this game against New Mexico.
It better be condensed for Hank Brown. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sit here and talk about this. And you know what the best part is, Auburn Nation? You know what the best part is, War Eagle fans? I'm a Bama grad. I'm supposed to hate you. I'm supposed to hate everything about you. I'm supposed to not have any bit of respect or honor or dignity. I know what the Iron Bowl is. I have still nightmares about the kick six. I still have nightmares about Cam Newton's fourth quarter comeback. I still remember all those things. But I love college football, and I put down my Alabama loyalties to the side to do this job and promote professionally. Because if I want to see programs be good, I am a true believer that college football is better when Auburn is good, when the Iron Bowl carries weight, not just at Jordan-Hare Stadium in the fourth quarter on a 4th and 31, or when other voodoo magic that happens inside that stadium because the shaman man decides to wake up one day and say, oh, we got a big rivalry game. Let's have that happen. I'm cool with that. What I care about is that Auburn is playing good football. You're dumbing down your playbook for a guy that's been in the system for a year and a half. What more does that say? What more do you need to be said to understand he's not the guy? And you have the pieces that can be better. You watched 2 weeks ago against Alabama A&M. Cam Coleman didn't look like a freshman. Cam Coleman seemed comfortable and poised as a wide receiver on the outside. Saw it with Malcolm Simmons. Saw it with Perry Thompson. Saw it with Keandre Lambert-Smith. Keandre Lambert-Smith gets a touchdown in this game. He looks really confident. You see the pieces there. You have the most established running back in Jarquez Hunter back for another year, and your defense is better because you have DJ Durkin. It's better because of it. You don't need to be dumbing down your playbook. If I'm hearing you're dumbing down your playbook or minimalizing your playbook, it should be because of you're breaking in a new quarterback and you don't want to put too much pressure on him before the start of SEC play. That's what should be there. But it's not. It's we're making the playbook more simplistic for a guy that's been in our system for over a year. Oh, and by the way, I catered my offense to his system. I'm not trying to be that guy. There's a preview that we got to talk about. We got to talk about this defense. It looked bad at times in the open field with tackling against Jaden Ott. It looked bad at times stopping Fernando Mendoza. It looked bad at times playing in coverage. It did. But instead, I'm only focused in on the one thing because of this is a look-ahead game to Arkansas. An Arkansas team that found a way to once again fumble the bag and not lose to a better Big 12 team, but lose themselves because of common mistakes. And that's a culture thing. And the culture that right now you're presenting is that you're going to trust a guy who has shown you time and time again he's not the right option. And now you're saying you're making the playbook more simplistic for a dude that's been here? Why not go ahead and just spoon feed him every single play? Here, open to the mouth. There we go, Payton. That's a great throw for a gain of 2 yards. You're doing so well. Is this the level of Auburn that we're supposed to see?
You know, to your point, Cole, it's just the most glaring issue. That's the thing. I mean, Auburn was not great defensively in that game, to your point. Keldrick Faulk was very good.
Yeah.
You know, he led the way with 3 tackles for loss, was all over the field. McLeod had 2.5. But it's just the most – and you lose by 7 points and your quarterback throws 4 picks. I mean, you do the math, right? I mean, it's maddening. And I know Auburn fans, Auburn folks tuning to this, we're preaching to the choir, but it's just – it's so unfortunate because of all the other weapons we talked about all offseason, the way that Auburn – there maybe was nobody in the country who upgraded their weapons more than what Auburn did. And we're not going to get to see, you know, the fruits of the labor pay off because you've got this thing dragging you down, and that is your starting quarterback. On that note, Cole, let's just say this. Hugh Freeze is committed to Payton Thorne. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing I'm going to see that's going to make me like change my mind necessarily, but it is important for Payton Thorne and this entire football team to play better because you've got the Arkansas Razorbacks next weekend, and this game is at home. And I caught a lot of flack for saying, I picked Arkansas to win, thought it could be an upset. That pick doesn't look so crazy right now if something does not change. So this is I call it a get-right game. This is a get-back game for Auburn, though. I mean, in every facet of the ball game, they've just got to be – that operation's got to be more efficient, got to be better, top to bottom. I know the opponent is lesser than. I know you should go out there and probably cover the 28-point spread, but Auburn's got to get right, get up for this game, and get it going before SEC play gets rolling.
The other thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that everyone is on the same page, because of the last thing you want is to have a game where you have a good defensive performance, but your offense isn't carrying its load. And that starts with Payton Thorne, but it's not just him. It's making sure that when you get those openings, if you're Jarquez Hunter, you're hitting your cuts at the right time. You're finding your ways into the open field for a first down. Wide receivers acting like veterans, not dropping easy passes or making a play and finishing the route. Those are things that are really important in this game because of whether or not you beat the spread. It's showing that there is grit and fight, and that this last win this last loss is not going to be the deciding factor of your season. You're not just doing this, wave the white flag, we're done. Nope, it was Cal, so we can't play an SEC culture. We can't do that. And for Payton Thorne, if you are listening to this, and if you are one of the Auburn media creative team that does cut up the videos and then eventually gets to be able to call us back in our face, use this as motivation fuel. Nobody can just keep believing in you anymore. Nobody. There's not a single person, well, maybe there's like one or two, but there's almost nobody, including your own fans, that believe you can get this done. Show why you can. Show why Hugh Freeze is right and we are all wrong. Because at the end of the day, I'm a dude on the internet talking about college football. Hugh Freeze is making millions of dollars to trust you to be the guy and to put the team with a fan base that does believe it can be good. And when it's at its peak, is good. When you have Nick Saban complimenting you that Jordan-Hare Stadium is the most electrifying, hostile place to play, and we have Fitz there, that's the ultimate sign of, yeah, you're a good football program. And more importantly, you're a good football culture. Use that to your advantage. But you have to get right. Because, Chris, you're not just talking about Arkansas. Arkansas is the start. Go through the list afterwards. It's Arkansas, and then it's a great Oklahoma defense, and then it's Georgia on the road, and then it's Missouri on the road, and then it's Kentucky on the road. And Kentucky might not have a good offense, but their defense is damn potent. And then it's Louisiana Monroe. Oh, by the way, I forgot about that. And then there's a fun little fella who last year, when he played in Conference USA, decided to march on in and set a name for himself, so much so that I'm willing to probably get a tattoo of him somewhere on my body if he ends up beating you a second time. And people are buying into he's actually pretty damn good. And you got him coming back to Jordan-Hare. So the reason why this is a get-right game is because of it's not Arkansas. It's the start of the gauntlet, and you have to get right, and everyone has to get right.
Don't let Cal beat you twice. That's the big thing. And again, even in a win, you can feel like you lost. We've seen that across college football with teams with underwhelming performances. Auburn needs to be not underwhelming, but just maybe overwhelming. I don't know. They need to overwhelm New Mexico in every single way in this football game. Also, too, Cole, I would say opportunity for the defense to clean some things up. All 5 starters are new in the New Mexico front. So you think of those guys on the Auburn front that I think are much better than they probably showed last week. Falk, Beatty, Isaiah Rakes, those guys getting in the backfield, causing havoc, again, creating some big plays, creating explosives on the defensive side. But, I mean, they were not – I don't think DJ Durkin is going to be satisfied, obviously, that performance against Cal. Again, opportunity for the entire team to get right. So, Cole, as we go into move into predictions, locking predictions this game, does Auburn get right? It's probably going to be the Payton Thorne show again. We've seen him be, dare I say, brilliant against Alabama A&M. We've seen him be downright terrible. What version of Payton Thorne do we get, and how do you see this one playing out?
We get middle tier. That's it. We get a middle tier version of it, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because of Auburn deserves better. You don't deserve to hear a guy that went to Alabama talk mad crap at your school in a way to where you know it's true. You win. You win this game. And I say this frustrated because of it shouldn't be you win this game. It should be you win this game. You show why you're a team on the come up. No, you win the game. You win the game, and it's because of they have a weak run defense, and you trust Jarquez Hunter, and you trust the legs of Payton Thorne. The spread's at 28.5, right?
28.
Yeah. You hit the under. You don't cover the spread. And I'm sorry, I'm going to do it just because of there has to finally be a message that sinks in. And for the love of all that is holy, I hope that I'm wrong. I'll give you the win 45. I'll give you the win 35-14. Say it as is, maybe 35-10, but 35-14, I'll lock it in. I hope that in the fourth quarter, you see a little bit of Hank Brown. Because the bottom line is, and you may not want to hear it, you're going to see him in SEC play, whether he's ready or not.
To your point, Cole, I think it'd be a mistake not to bring in Hank Brown at some point because, again, that version of Payton Thorne we saw last week is that is who he is. It's maybe he's not quite that bad on a weekly basis, but that side of him will show itself again. And you better have somebody else ready to go, or you are essentially waving the white flag in those contests, right? So I think you will see multiple quarterbacks. I'm going to be a little bit nicer to Auburn. I don't think New Mexico has got the bodies to compete in this one. I think it is going to be a get-right game. I'm sure Auburn's going to come out motivated, excited, fired up, night game at Jordan-Hare. I just don't think it really matters, Cole. That's the thing. I mean, I'm already looking way too far ahead that, like, what happens on Saturday night, it doesn't really matter from the standpoint of going into the Arkansas game and going into SEC play and how we view that. You know what I mean? Like, we saw Auburn beat up on Alabama A&M. It meant nothing. So I hate to say the game means nothing. It means something for Auburn. It means something for the guys in that locker room. It means something for Auburn fans. But just from the standpoint of the big picture, you're going to do what you're supposed to do. I don't have any doubt about that. It'll be a big night for Jarquez Hunter. I'm sure Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith and those Perry Thompson, they're going to continue to put stuff on highlight reels. And it'll be a fun night. It's not going to solve all the problems you have, but it'll be a fun night. I'm going to be nice. Like I said, give you 44-7. Auburn gets the win. Defensively, I think you'll be swarming. I think you'll be dominant. But like you said, Cole, if Hank Brown's not getting in this football game and getting reps, your problems aren't even close to fixed. Like, I don't think Payton Thorne going out there and beating up on New Mexico solves anything for this football team.
It doesn't. And again, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here. I'm not trying to spend it all on one player. But at this point, it is on one player. It's on one player to get it right. And you know he's not going to in the sense of where it is. And it's not an insult to New Mexico, and it's not an insult to Auburn. What it is it's a reality check. The version of Payton Thorne that you saw on Saturday may not be every week's version, but it ain't getting much better than that. And you got an entire locker room full of players who believe that this team can do something special, can be better than advertised from last year. You win against New Mexico. Do you win and feel good enough to where you're going into SEC play ready to fight? And by the way, this roster can fight. Can you fight and be willing to fight by maybe setting your general aside and putting someone else in to take command?
So, guys, do you agree with us? Do you disagree? How do you see this playing out when Auburn and New Mexico do battle Saturday night at Jordan-Hare Stadium? Guys, it's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get those as well. You can also check us out across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Cole Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.